And we live. Hey. Welcome to another episode of The Goalpost. And I'm joined by Squeezer. What's happening, my G?
X, always good to be here. Always good to speak to you, my boy.
Yeah, man, it's been a while since we've actually had a discussion about your team. I mean, prior you were so pessimistic about how things are gonna
You can see
go.
the smile on his face now.
And right now, you're even representing, you've got your golf shirt and everything, man. So,
Yeah,
man, you guys, you're the only unbeaten team.
yeah.
Actually, we're also unbeaten, but like as far as wins, you're the only team that has won all the games.
I think, as a Spurs fan, I've spoken
Yeah.
to everyone. We kind of, I've learned not to get ahead of myself because we always somehow managed to fall off at some point. I mean, even that season where Leicester pipped us, we had such a solid start and we just fell off and weren't consistent enough. So right now I'm just taking it as it comes and looking at it exactly the way Nuno does, like Nuno's taking it game by game, and we've performed fairly well in those games, and you sort of see what he's trying to do with the team. We haven't won convincingly, but what I've seen in the team performance has, given me a lot more encouragement about the way that my team's pursuing and
Yeah.
taking games by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
And it's been a joy to watch compared to what we were experiencing with Mourinho. You know what I mean? Like I can actually watch the team play now, which is great for me.
Oh, no, that's so true because even from a tactical standpoint, I feel like Nuno has set up shop accordingly. Like when you look at Eric Dyer, actually your back four, I mean, you guys are organized defensively. Like it's very difficult for you guys to even concede any goals right now.
And that's something where we remember in our first discussion, I was completely worried about, but they've looked a little bit more solid and reassuring, especially Dyer and Sanchez, who I think aren't necessarily the best centre backs in the world. Yeah. But what I do think has solidified that is playing Oliver Skip in front of them along with Højbjerg. Because what we had last season was sometimes gaps in our midfield that exposed players like Dyer and Sanchez. But when you have players like Skip and Højbjerg, who are obviously defensive minded, I would say, like holding midfielder type players that allow, that comfort and support to a defensive unit, it just makes it easier for the defenders to defend. You know what I mean? You're less exposed, so to speak. So we have been a little bit more solid in front of the back line, which has led to them being more consistent at the back.
That is so true. Like I'm also surprised as to even your starting 11 per se. When I look at let me also include this player Tangai Ndombele. I don't know what's going on with him. Is he fit? Is he injured? Or does the manager not rate him?
You know what my issue is with a lot of these French, Pogba included, right?
Yeah.
They have an abundance of talents, like probably one of the most talented nations I've seen, but their players just have these horrible attitudes. And I feel like he sits in that camp. Like he's probably one of the most talented players I've ever seen in my life. Do you know what I mean? His ability to drive forward and turn players inside and out. But he's frightening when he's on his game. But he's just got no effort. He lacks no heart. Do you know what I mean? That's what it feels like when he wears the shirt. It's kind of like he's there because he can be and not because he wants to fight and win things with Spurs. Do you know what I mean? Like, I honestly believe that he's had issues now because Aurier is no longer there, Sissoko is no longer there, and he had a bond with them. And I also feel like he's out of favor with Nuno. But I mean, there was that one game when he played under Mourinho and the boy didn't have a sprint in the entire first half. You're a professional footballer. How have you not had one sprint in the entire first half of a match? Do you know what I mean? That's not the type of, as talented as he is, if you don't want to play for the badge, but leave. I don't care. As talented as you are, there's players like Oliver Skip that will literally run through a wall to secure a win for my team. And I'd rather have that player there because he wants to fight for the club. So as much as it hurts me to say, because I don't think we've had a player as talented as him as Moussa Dembele, because Moussa had that same role. He had that ability to just turn players inside out and drive us into the next gear, sort of like Modric or any one of those attacking-minded footballers that unlock defenses faster than an Oliver Skip or a Winks would do. Do you know what I mean? So as much as it hurts, he's got a bad attitude, and I just don't think he belongs at the club if he doesn't want to be there, you know.
Yeah, and for me, I do concur with you as far as talent is concerned. I do think he's very talented. He's very good at breaking lines. His dribbling ability is impeccable. But like there is something wrong with him per se, because even for the French national team, he never gets call ups in any way. So, we there must be something wrong with him as a player. And if you guys are looking to, of course, make a lot of money, you guys can sell him. And I think he is worth quite a lot. There are teams that are willing to pay for his services.
For sure. I think the biggest issue is that he was our record signing,
Yeah,
but the problem is he hasn't performed up to date. So it's like, you want to secure a move elsewhere, but you're not playing and you don't have the right attitude. So I mean, teams are obviously going to try to pay a discount for him, and we know what Daniel Levy's is like. But so I don't know how we're going to get to a crossroad where we're able to sell him and still recoup some value. But it does hurt that you've got a player that's as talented as him, but he just doesn't seem like he wants to play. He's got this horrible attitude, and that's my honest feel about it. I don't know if he's had a spat with Nuno, or Nuno just doesn't like him, or what the situation is. I mean, obviously we're never close enough to what's going on in the training camp to see what's happening. If he's got an injury, or he's had words with Nuno, or he's got a bad attitude, I don't know. To me, every time I've seen him warm up, or every time I've seen him in training, it's like he's got this lackluster attitude. Like it's,
yeah, yeah. No, that's true. Like we haven't seen a lot of him. And as well, even when Poch was still in charge, he hardly played Tangai as well. It was, he just featured here and there. And yeah, man, like on my end, I just hope for the best for the player. At the end of the day, there are teams out there that would need such a player of his caliber. And, hopefully he can turn things around and things can work out for him at your club, right now. And speaking of a player with attitude, Harry Kane, that's another player who
yeah.
has who thinks he's bigger than the club. Are you happy that he's staying? Because I
I think
mean, in the first
logical.
game, you guys beat City without him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's testament to
yeah,
Son. I mean, Sonny's become a more consistent, like not more consistent than Harry Kane, but he's become more consistent, and he's become the player that we need at times, that we can call upon, even when Kane was injured or injury prone for all those seasons prior to that. So Son's become that anchor up top where we can rely on him. Harry Kane staying, but listen, you'd be stupid if you said you weren't happy about Harry Kane staying. He's one of the most complete strikers I've ever seen. But we had this conversation, I don't think anyone would have ever grudged him leaving. And I think even the players within the club understand, his goals and ambitions. They understand his talent and would literally be okay with him moving. The only issue is that the clubs weren't willing to pay the price for him. And I mean, you've got Neymar's and stuff going for 200 million. Why is Harry Kane any cheaper, especially if he's going to an English club where English quotas matter? So City have that oil money, but they need to pay. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I'm very much happy that he's staying, and he's going to definitely contribute to whatever our goals are for the season. But with regards to him moving, I think it's inevitable. Do you know what I mean? I honestly feel he's that talented and he deserves to win things. So I wish him well and thank him for his service. I'm sorry we couldn't have won things. I think it always comes back to our Champions League final with Liverpool, where if we had gone on to win things, it sounds like I'm talking, past and ifs and buts, but honestly believe if we had won it would have been different times for Spurs, and possibly would have still been at the club. But yeah, I feel like he's a professional. You know what I mean? He's going to carry on and get on to business and keep scoring goals so that big club comes knocking eventually. But
Yeah, no, that's true, man. Like, it is inevitable. It all goes down to Daniel Levy, because I heard that there was a gentleman's agreement. But with Daniel Levy, Daniel
right.
Levy is a scumbag, bro. Like him and Florentino Perez, they're like, but Florentino is worse, of course. Yeah,
no gentleman's agreement with that man. He's very shrewd
yeah,
and a very good businessman. There's no doubt in my mind that he was not going to go let Harry Kane go for a penny less than what he thinks he's worth. And at the end of it, I think he's still under a 3-year contract now. So it's only going to be 2 years, you're still going to be able to recoup some value, even if you sell him by January or the next transfer window. And hopefully by then we're in a better position in terms of almost qualifying for Champions League or a better spot in Europe, because this Conference League to me just feels like a waste of time. I know it sounds bad, but I mean, I would honestly rather have my eggs in the basket of trying to compete for the Champions League and one of the domestic cups as opposed to this Conference League. I believe all the traveling is just going to take it out of the players, even though we've added to the depth of the squad. It's my personal opinion. My brothers don't agree. They personally think we should go on and win it, which I agree we have the potential to do it, but it's kind of those types of games where it's like only downside risk. You bow out of that competition, everyone's going to be like, oh, you guys are a shambles, this and that about Spurs. So I don't know. My honest feel is that I'd rather just put all my eggs in trying to compete for the Champions League basket and get back into a proper European championship.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I also concur. As much as I wanted United to win last season, I wouldn't lie to you. Like, I just felt that the team needed that from a morale perspective, but because we didn't win it, it was a bummer as well. Because I mean, the type of teams that we played against were they were teams that we were meant to beat comfortably. But I mean, of course, tactics do play a huge role in games. You can't just rely on your individual players to bail you out. At the end of the day, it's on that day, if you get your tactics right. We even saw with Chelsea and City were favorites to win the Champions League, but because Tuchel had his tactics on point, that's what happens. That's what really happens. Yeah. And yeah, I think we have a question here. There's a guy at the end of the season. What's a success position for Spurs?
Top four.
Top four for you.
Yeah.
And who? Okay, fine. Please name me your potential top four.
my potential top four.
Yeah.
I think
no particular order. Yeah.
Chelsea, Chelsea, City, United.
Yeah.
Wait, no. I personally, this is what I think. Okay, so Chelsea, United, City, and then probably Liverpool, realistically, and then us competing with Leicester. But like, my hope is that we top four. I think Chelsea just looks so solid, and they've signed the right players. You've seen the depth that they have as a second team. Disgusting. And Tuchel's and he's like literally won a Champions League with that team where he shouldn't have, because City were in the form of their lives. But he's just proven himself as a manager, and he's got an abundance of depth. And you even saw them hold Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? So Liverpool, 10 men. That's something, boy. I'm even nervous to go to the bridge, but honestly, so Chelsea, you guys are. We tell you, Ronaldo's the type of player that beats a championship-winning team. Honestly, but to United is going to provide. It's just going to galvanize everyone. It was like when Bale came. We had this atmosphere around the club. Even though he's a little bit older now, he's got that winning mentality. He's won everything. Do you know what I mean? It's like he provides that comfort and element to all of the players within the club. I mean, his shirt sales have already recouped the majority of the value that you guys paid for him. So it's a little bit stupid. And I'm very much excited to see him at Old
Trafford.
So I honestly think he can take you to a championship-winning team, and I think you've got the players around as well to do so. I just don't know if Solskjaer is the manager to do so. I mean, he did quite well last season. I just don't know if he's the manager yet. And you know what? As a fellow United boy that won trophies, I'm hoping he gets that guidance from Alex Ferguson along the way to give him that move to win something. But that's my honest opinion. I think Chelsea and United might be my favourites this season. I think City not signing a striker in the form of Harry Kane is going to leave them a little bit lackluster, especially if they don't have De Bruyne on form. Like, even when he came on injured against Spurs, my heart was doing like that boy literally just, as soon as he gets on the ball, he's so devastating. He makes me so scared. And Liverpool, bro, you can't disregard Liverpool. You know what? With a big man back, they look rock solid at the back. That boy is arguably the best in the back in the world. So, and him coming back is like a brand new signing. So don't disregard Liverpool. It's whether or not the boys can find that form up again. Mane, Firmino, and Salah.
Yeah, because I mean, even Jota now, he's also another person who's raised his hand. I mean, he's also quite deadly. Yeah.
Proven himself as a player that can consistently come off the bench and just do the business. So they've got a quality lineup within the spun there, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to also do the business. It's lining up to be. I know we always say this shit like when we're watching football, but it's lining up to be one of the best seasons we've got. Like Spurs have strengthened, Liverpool have strengthened, Chelsea have strengthened significantly. City or City, you know what I mean? They have the ability to put on whenever, as long as De Bruyne is fit, I believe. And United all look rock solid and have also strengthened. So, and don't disregard Leicester as well. You know what I mean? They're just also a very solid team. So it's going to be interesting, but
yeah, it is going to be interesting. But I just have okay. The thing is with me. Yesterday, I had this conversation with a mate of mine on the show, and it had to do with what you said about Solskjaer. That's my like I think there's a lot of pressure on him to deliver this season. Like we have to win a significant trophy, in my opinion, with the inclusion of Ronaldo, especially when you look at our squad and you look at our starting 11. We were going through our starting 11, just looking at different combinations yesterday, and we've got so much depth and quality, and we've got players who bring a different dimension in the game, So from a tactical standpoint, if Ole if he gets his tactics right, then I think we will do well this season. But to be honest with you, I think we need to get a new coach. I know it's too soon to say, but just for us to reach the tier of Chelsea, we need to get someone who's tactical and who can bring the best out of our players. Because essentially, look at what Nuno has done. Sanchez as well as Dyer. They were players who were downplaying before in our previous episode. We were like, these guys aren't good enough. But now they look very good because he's come in and he's implemented his tactics to hide the players' deficiencies. And so I'm a person who I rate coaches way more than players. For instance, if maybe Conte came to your team, I'd be more fearful of your team because of what Conte has done in previous seasons with different teams and him winning the Premier League as well as dominating Serie A. And he's the one who actually resurrected Juve from the dead. Juve were finished before Conte arrived, It's like even with Liverpool, Klopp is capable of bringing out the best out of players who you didn't rate prior. Like before Klopp arrived, Henderson wasn't amazing. Henderson was an average player. No one was talking about Henderson. But now, all of a sudden, people are like, oh, Henderson is better than Paul Pogba. Once a friend of mine said that, and that is purely because of the system that was implemented by the manager. And so for me, I'm a system type of guy. I do rate players. Of course, you need to have the players to execute the system. But when you look at Leicester City, Leicester stay producing unknown players because they've got that sort of system where they know how to recruit correctly. It's like with Arsenal. Arsenal had spent the most money this season, but they didn't recruit well. They didn't buy proper players, and that's part of the reasons why they are in a situation that they're in right now.
You imagine Arsenal getting relegated? That would be fire.
How would you feel about that as a Spurs supporter?
Oh, just happy St. Tottenham's Day or whatever they used to say, brother. That will be a joke if they get relegated. But it would jokes aside, it would be a team like Arsenal with the pedigree that they have as a club and then Premier League get relegated, and it would just be a sad note, especially for the fans. But you know what I mean? Coming from a team that was invincibles. Do you know what I mean? I remember playing that team, fearing them every time I played them, being in their shadow for so long. So for me, it's crazy to see them like this. But I mean, teams go through transitions all the time. Bro. Liverpool did it for a while. Do you remember they had hearing John J. Voldemort?
Shelby, yeah.
they had a diabolical midfield, and you thought to yourself, my goodness, is this really Liverpool? But now, whether you go to the Cop and you play them, and they got those fans, probably one of the most intimidating places you can go to. So I think they're in a transition period now, and I don't know if Arteta's the man, bro. I rated him as a footballer, one of the most talented I've seen, but I don't know about his managerial ability. But or whoever's doing the recruitment, they are smoking big drugs at that.
It's Edu, bruh. It's so important. It's like, remember when you guys had Paul Mitchell and Poch. Paul Mitchell and Poch essentially built Tottenham up. You guys signed. You started recruiting wisely, because it was Andre Villas-Boas before Poch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he messed everything up.
And then kept like 2 players, you know what I mean? And we got 80-odd bars.
You see what I'm saying, bruh? Yeah. So it all goes down to having a proper system that you guys like. You basically sit down and say, okay, this is what we're gonna play. Now let's go recruit players who will suit the style of play, and not just sign marquee players for the sake of signing marquee players, And we've also got another question here, bruh, from Sife.
Yeah. Okay, Spurs next potential 21 points. Palace, Chelsea, Villa, United, Everton, Leeds. Palace, I believe we can get 3 points. Chelsea, I would chalk that off as a draw or a loss. Arsenal, Villa, a win. United, draw. Everton, win. Should beat Leeds. So Chelsea and United are the only teams I would be afraid of playing there.
Wow, bro! You just said so nonchalantly. You're like, Arsenal win, like
brother. They are literally. I haven't seen a team this diabolical in a long time. But you know what? It's a little bit of a dig at Arsenal. But you know how North London derbies are. That's the game that they'll pitch up and play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Derby. So realistically, I don't know. I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself here, Sikli. I mean, as a Spurs fan, I always say don't let ahead of you, because at the end of the day, Spurs always find a way to let you down at some point, bro. But comfortably, realistically, maybe I'd say 12 to 15 points would be great out of those 21, considering we play Chelsea, Arsenal, and United.
I know, man. I mean, on my end, man, like, hey, this is quite a tough run of fixtures. Come to think of it, hey, I never thought you guys had like these sort of fixtures coming up, eh?
But you know what I mean? Like, Sinclair quotes these fixtures, but majority of the Premier League games are tough. Do you know what I mean? You're not going, you're not playing easy teams. It's not like you're playing in France. You know what I mean? A lot of these teams are solid. Leeds play attractive attacking football and can hurt a lot of the teams on any given day. You've seen what West Ham did last season. Palace is also a London derby. Chelsea, London derby. Arsenal, London derby. United, strong. Everton, you can't disregard. You know what I mean? These are all teams with the caliber of players that on their given day, if they're on form and they're home, depending on whether you play them home and away, some teams have better form. So realistically speaking, I mean, I can see us getting about 12 points. I'd probably write off Chelsea and United realistically, depending on whether we play them at home or away. But Chelsea look too strong to me, and I'm also a little bit bummed to play United. Out of those are the only games I'm really afraid of playing.
Yeah, you're not afraid of Villa, bro. You're not afraid of Danny Ings and who's that guy from? He used to play for Norwich.
Villa. But I mean, at the end of the day, right? We've just been the champions. You have to have a little bit of confidence. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, comfortably speaking, you're not going to go into any of those games completely confident that it's a walkover, but comfortable that we can win those games. Yes, I think in those games, I'm thinking worst case draw, win Spurs. You know what I mean? Like if they beat us, then they were a better team on the day. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at those games. But Chelsea and United comfortably right off the points there, because I believe that those teams are, in terms of depth right now and strength, I think that they're a little bit stronger. I think Nuno's still trying to figure things out at Spurs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And then add him with some banter. Yes. Like that's not a question. That's a riddle. Ads. Ads FC who it is, right?
That
Yeah, Adam. Yeah, Adam Taylor.
magpie, isn't he a magpie?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. You must tune in on Thursday. I'm shooting with them. We're gonna be discussing.
What's his the Magpies this season, bro?
Yeah, they're playing against United at Old Trafford, so we're gonna be having a
Ooh,
discussion as to
yo,
what's of what's gonna go down. But yeah, man. Another actually, this is like it's a bit of sad news as far as Son, because today I was watching a few episodes on a guy who's a diehard Spurs fan from the UK, and yeah, he mentioned that Son suffered a sprained right calf injury. So we're not too sure as to how severe the injury is, but for me, that is a huge loss. I mean, Son is
sure.
your guys' best player and most reliable player.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with
Uh,
injury prone a lot. Son's been that talisman for us that's always been consistent and allowed us, to get points whenever we needed him when Kane wasn't there. Originally when he first came, he lacked that consistency, but I think people disregard how good he is as a player. And he's shown that over the past few seasons. And him and Kane last season were unstoppable, even though we looked to shambles at times. It's going to be a massive loss, but I do believe we have players that can come in, maybe not, provide the same caliber that Son does, but we have talent within Spurs that can come through. I like what I see with that Brian Gill. He reminds me of like an old school attacking winger. Do you know what I mean? Just a very direct, fast winger that's looks to drive forward all the time. So really comfortable with him. Bergwijn, I really like, and the boy has potential there, but he just doesn't. He just doesn't unlock it sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Like he's too afraid to
yeah.
take risks sometimes. I'm like, wow, boy, you blitz, you've got talent, just do it. But I do believe we've got players that can come in and do the business. You got a team with depth there, and I'm hoping that at least with Kane still at the club. Like, listen, this would have been diabolical if we didn't have Kane. Like Kane
Yeah.
at least provides some reassurance. If we didn't have Kane, me and you'd be pumped now. We'd probably be writing off this game and just being like, all right, boys, we're gonna have to,
Yeah.
hopefully Nuno gets the tactic right without Son, and hopefully it's not a long-term injury because he's the type of player that is the player you need consistently throughout the season to achieve it.
Yeah, no, that's true. Even with Steven Bergwijn, like I really rate the guy. I think there is a player in him,
Yeah,
especially when you look at the goals, some of the goals that he scores, you
yeah.
can see that he's technical in what he does. He's not just a pace merchant. There's a time where he scored against United, he scored a cracker of a goal against us, and you could see that the guy knows what he's doing when he's got the ball. And
Sorry, but that's my issue, right? It's
yeah,
him and Mora, and both of them just aren't consistent.
yeah.
Talent, but like not consistent at all. So I believe they have the ability, but it's whether or not they turn up on the day.
Yeah,
You know,
no, that's so true, bro. Oh, sorry?
those are ultimately the players that would falter in if Son's not playing, because he's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
Son, Kane, and Bergwijn, and now it's going to be either Lucas Moura coming in, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah. And then last but not least, bro, speaking of Son not being injured, I mean there's two of your players from Argentina who decided to defy Spurs orders. I mean, Argentina right now, COVID-19 is really, they're a red zone. Yeah. So I don't get how Brazil and Argentina set up an international friendly, knowing very well that, it wasn't an important game. Yeah.
It's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen, right? Because I was
Yeah.
reading, and me and my friends were talking about it, and I was like, how did this even happen? Especially
Yeah.
if the said no. But you also, so like, I don't agree with it at all. And I think it's one of the dumbest things that they've ever done, especially if your club's told you no, it's a red zone and you're going to miss a game because you have to quarantine for 10 days thereafter. Seems stupid. So they're going to get fined, and I don't know what other action is coming through here. But in terms of the players themselves, Giovanni Lo Celso hasn't necessarily featured in our starting lineup. I really love him as a player. I think he's got an abundance of talent. And obviously Romero is, dude, you know what? I like what I see from the boy. He reminds me of an Alderweireld. It's like a ball-playing centre back that has the ability to drive forward and can unlock defenses with a long ball. So it sucks because I'm really wanting to bet himself in. But this just feels like something that Ned didn't need to. But I feel like players have become so powerful now that they can just do whatever they want. I feel like back in the day, if your club told you this, though, you wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? Especially if it's a game that didn't really matter from that perspective. The whole way that it went down was completely bizarre. I can't believe they didn't get arrested in the first place or stopped. I feel like it was a little bit dramatic for them to run onto the pitch and like cause a scene, but it is what it is. I don't know, just a very dumb move, especially if your club's gone against it. But you also have to, I suppose, a part of me thinks, you're getting an international call up. There must be some part of you that wants to represent your country and get an international cap. So some sort of sympathy for the play, even though it was completely stupid.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, even with me, like on my end, I was just viewing it from the importance of the game. I'd understand if it was a World Cup qualifier, but
Yeah.
it wasn't even a World Cup qualifier.
No, for sure. And I mean, if it was, I think the club would have had a different stance. You know what I mean? And that's the case. But obviously you've had the discussions with your man. How do you defy what you've had an agreement about? A country that's a a red flag in terms of COVID-19. You have quarantine. Seemed like a bizarre move to make. Leaves a sour taste with management, and I don't know what action is going to be pursued here, whether or not they just get fined or whether or not now it causes a rift within the club in terms of selection, especially when they're two of our most talented players. I them both.
Yeah, I know that's true. I just hope everything works out for them. Of course, they will miss the next. I'm sure next two fixtures. For sure because of them having to quarantine for 10 days. But yeah, man. At least they haven't really they're not really key players as per se. They're not really starters for your club. So I think you could get away with them just quarantine for 10 days. So
For
yeah,
sure. That,
I just hope things work out.
that's the way that I'm looking at it. It's like exactly what. So right now they haven't featured in the starting lineup because I think they still Ramirez finding and Lo Celso's battled with a couple injuries along the way. So I'm guessing they will become integral like down the line. So for now it sucks and it's stupid, but I don't think it's going to necessarily have a massive effect.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. So on my end, we've come to the end of the episode as far as Spurs are concerned, bro. Do you have any questions for me? As a United supporter,
Maybe Porter Ronaldo.
I have Ronaldo's Juve jersey. I
You
just
got to get it
haven't.
Martin now, surely, but he's back.
Yeah, yeah, no, true. I mean, Ronaldo is a legend. I mean, that guy has won every single trophy there is. Besides, I think he didn't win the UEFA Super Cup. Yeah, because
He's
at
my,
the time, yeah. Beg your pardon?
he's my favorite. Like people always have the Messi and Ronaldo debate,
Yeah,
right? Not because I think that he's better than me. It's just because, like, if I could imagine myself trying to become a footballer, I'd want to emulate because you can't be Messi. You know what I mean? But you
yeah,
can have type of commitment and dedication that Ronaldo had. Maybe not ever be as good as Ronaldo, but like that's the type of mindset I would have for players. So that's why he's always going to be my favorite. So let me tell you, going to be terrified when we go to Old Trafford and that boy's playing against us. I remember how he terrorized us when he was here in the league. So I don't know, bud. How are you feeling about United? What do you think your odds are?
Okay, for me, okay, you already know how I feel about my manager.
Mm-hmm.
But I was,
Your
yeah, in
team?
yesterday's, I beg your pardon?
But your team?
Yeah, my team, from a personal, from a personnel perspective, I think we have the right personnel right now. It's just for me, it will be very interesting to see how Ronaldo will play with Rashford. Bruno, and Greenwood, because those players, they don't they first instinct is to shoot. It's not to pass. And Ronaldo, he's 36. He's not the Ronaldo that can take on players anymore. He's just a finisher. So I just want to see how those guys will play with one another, because when you watch Portugal and you watch Jota and Ronaldo, like they don't play well with one another because Jota is a person who shoots more than he actually passes the ball, So that could create a bit of friction. But of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer he needs to now be a manager and be able to manage these egos, because all of these guys have egos. I mean, Sir Marcus Rashford, Bruno has an ego, Pogba has an ego, Ronaldo's ego is
Yeah.
is insanely high, and
Yeah.
at the same time, Byron as well, from an ambition standpoint, second and like finishing second for Ronaldo is not good enough, you
Yeah.
know.
I hear you.
So yeah, that's another thing, bro. Like he is gonna demand quite a lot from the club. Like he's gonna say, guys, I'm a top tier player. Like you guys need to match my ambitions. I've got 5 Champions Leagues. I've won leagues all over the world. Okay, all over Europe. I've won in Spain. I've won in Italy. I've won here as well. I've won like golden boots in all these leagues.
Mm.
Champions League, I'm the all-time top goal scorer. So guys, you need to match my ambition. And of course, if there may be a situation where Ole struggles to manage the egos in the dressing room, it could create a lot of problems within our squad. And so that's another thing that I'm very aware of. I'm not gonna get carried away like a lot of United fans who are like, "Oh, we're gonna win everything." No, for me, I take it. I take. I'm not a person who gets carried away in anything, because this club has hurt me so many times. I remember when we signed. Remember when we signed Falcao, Di Maria. See that transfer? I think it was the 13. Yeah, yeah, where we had so many dope players that we signed. We signed Schweinsteiger as well. My head, I had a big head, and then Leicester City put 5 past us. We lost 5-3 at the King Power, and then that brought me down to earth. And then I realized that from a balance standpoint, my team is not balanced. We've got very good attackers, but from a defensive standpoint, we're using Daily Blind. That was the time where we didn't have good defenders. Our midfield was all over the place. So for me, it will have to go down. Like Oli has a lot to do this season. He's under immense pressure as a manager. So as Pochettino, because Pochettino has
Right.
Messi in his team. So it puts a lot of pressure on you as a coach to deliver. And is Ole gonna deliver? We'll just have to wait and see, man. I hope he does. I really hope he does. Yeah,
To me,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
there's two ways that happens. Like you
yeah,
say, poison where you've got all these attitudes, or it's players get on board the Ronaldo bus and understand what he's achieved. And I think Ronaldo might be old, but don't disregard his intelligence as a footballer that's won everything. So I feel like you're going to see a different Ronaldo, not the same Ronaldo, a Ronaldo that's going to be extremely experienced and seasoned in taking you to another level if you play him right. So you're right, it's on Solskjaer and on how he's going to play Ronaldo, because that ultimately determines whether or not you're going to win or win trophies. Because if you keep Ronaldo fit and you play him right and your players play to his strengths, I think United could be frightening.
yeah. Let's hope that happens. Like, let's hope that
I'm open,
happens.
but for my personal for my personal point of view, but I'm just kidding. Always love to
Yeah,
see Ronaldo. You know what I mean? We're watching
yeah,
two of the compete, and blessed to watch them both. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
yeah. No, no, that's true. So, Byron, man, we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for availing yourself, guys. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Help us out with the algorithm. This is the goalpost, and we out. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Excellent.